Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report is your preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda and an update from your Oshkosh City Manager. Your hosts, Emily Mikowski of Oshkosh Community Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for your City Manager's Report. I'm your host, Emily Mikowski, and as always, I'm joined by your City Manager, Mark Roloff. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mark.
Great to be here, Emily.
And as always, we'll devote the first half of the program to some current events going on around Oshkosh and take a little break. In the second half of the program, we'll go over the City Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, February 11th, 2014. So let's go ahead and dive right in.
Plenty to talk about today.
Plenty to talk about, as always. First up, there was a Riverwalk development workshop that took place at the last council meeting. What was discussed and what were some of the highlights of that?
Well, we were talking about what we want to do in terms of riverfront development, all of it, not just the Riverwalk itself, but both north and south side of the river. But some of the main things we talked about were, first off, some of the economic realities, because in order for us to pay for the public improvements and do the things we want to do out there, there needs to be money spent, but you have to have a return on that investment. And really what that is how much tax base can get added. So we talked quite a bit to get the council and the Plan Commission and the Redevelopment Authority sort of their bearing straight on what we needed to do. Because, for example, we're going to be doing a Riverwalk. I mean, that's been in the plans forever. The idea is that whenever we take land and put it into the public realm, well then that's property value that's not going to be created to help pay off for these improvements. So we have to be cautious about not putting too much in there, so much so that we don't get our return on our investment.
Right, and what were some of the reactions that were received when going over this information during that workshop?
Well, some of the reactions were that I think they recognize the fiscal realities, but they also said we need some design standards to make sure that the quality of the development is there. And I think in one part acknowledging that economic realities do have to come into play. If you don't have good quality, you're not going to have good value. But at the same time, I think they were trying to create a vision for what they thought the riverfront should look like. And I think what they are really looking at now is a need for design standards to say, look, these are the types of quality developments that we want, and not just set a vision for it, but then have a way to monitor it and maintain that over the course of the development, because there's a temptation that happens where there's a need to get development value, and sometimes there's a tendency maybe to sell your soul a little bit, where you say, well, let's get a little value and accept a little value rather than give up on a lot of value. You don't want to give up on a lot of value, but you have to balance those things out. So we'll slowly address that issue as time goes on.
And you mentioned those design standards. Why are those important to the Riverwalk and the community?
I think it's important because we only have one riverfront. And if we don't do it right the first time, we're going to regret it. We're going to live with those decisions for generations to come. We had a great opportunity. It used to be a wonderful industrial area, and it was wonderful, and it served its purpose. But that was a completely different time frame, a time period, and the expectations are a lot different. Making the riverfront accessible to the public, having mixed uses so that people can enjoy it. It's not your father's riverfront anymore. It's not an industrial area. So we've got to clean it up. We've got to make it look appealing for future generations, and that's where our real impetus is going to be for the future. And
in a way, it's kind of a nice, I guess you could call it a problem or a goal to have. It just shows that the Riverwalk really is developing and that the community can kind of step up and get that going.
Right, and I think the last thing that they probably wanted to talk about was marketing, the need to market, and that kind of surprised me. That issue wasn't on staff's agenda, but as it came out, I think the Plan Commission, the Redevelopment Authority, and the Council, they all said, we need to market, and the only way we're going to be able to do that is have a vision for what we want to have, and then be able to market that vision so that we can get community overall community effort towards this and get people to understand how important it is to have good value. But the only way we're going to get that value is if we actually go out and recruit people to come down here. We've got some great folks who have already started to clean up the site, like the Geldwin site, and we need to help them market the area. They're going to be doing a lot. They're going to be investing a lot of private dollars into that, but we also need to market it in general because we have long-term needs out there, and those are something that we're going to have to keep pursuing.
Right, and it's great to, you've got the vision, draw people there, basically.
Exactly.
Now, something else that people are starting to talk about is inclusive parks. There's been some fundraising that's been going on for that. Do you want to kind of tell us a little bit about what exactly an inclusive park is?
Well, it's a park that is usable by everyone, but I think it also recognizes that physically and developmentally disabled citizens, children, teens, adults, also want to be included in our recreational facilities. And if you have a family that has a disabled child, maybe the disabled child can't go to a park because it's not accessible to them, but their siblings get to go. Well, the siblings want their other siblings to go along too. So the idea is to make it available for all members of the community. It wouldn't be just for developmentally or physically disabled. It would be for everybody. And the examples you see there, it has surfaces that are kind of rubberized that you can get access with a wheelchair. Somebody who maybe not in a wheelchair but has mobility issues can still get there a lot easier. And then it's a very small rise or has ramps to get to certain areas of the playground, and just enables the kids to have a fun experience. And they're actually a lot of fun regardless of your ability or disability. Fun knows no disability, and this is part of what that's all about.
And I know something that wasn't shown on those pictures are the swings, and I know a lot of parents that have children in wheelchairs aren't able to experience the swings, so they have special swings at these parks that they're able to swing and get to do that.
There's swings, there's areas where you get to use your upper body strength if you don't have lower body abilities. There's just so many different things, but it doesn't matter. Every kid can enjoy these facilities. It doesn't matter, and that's the beauty of an inclusive playground.
Now, can you describe the Oshkosh Inclusive Park project? Is there any kind of funding related with that at all?
Well, there was a group a few years ago that wanted to get started, and the city agreed to provide matching funds up to $100,000 if they could do that. And it hadn't been going very far, partially the economy, I imagine, but just hadn't gotten its legs, so to speak. Now, I actually had taken it out of the 2014 capital improvement program. I felt bad about it, but we hadn't seen enough activity. During the budget discussions, our Parks Director, Ray Maurer, said that perhaps it was getting a little more interest, and the council members asked, well, would you still want it in there in the budget? He said, well, I've got priorities in there, so what was ultimately agreed to is that if they're able to raise funds, we would reprioritize some of our parks projects. And so that's what we're hoping to do. I know Ray's been working with some folks, and I think the graphics you saw there show that there's an effort underway. And if the donations come in, we'll figure out a way to make it happen. We may have to push back some other park projects, but we'll get get this one done. It is tentatively planned for South Park, and I would love nothing more than to see that come to fruition. I think it would be a great addition to our park system in general, but also be something that is otherwise not available to residents of Oshkosh.
Right. It's a really cool kind of feel-good project, something that, like you said, would be very, very well received by Oshkosh residents.
Yeah, and we received some correspondence from some parents who said, this would be great for my kids. And it's those types of situations where you say, yeah, this could be good for everybody. It's not just specifically geared for disabled families, but it enables able-bodied and disabled folks to play together.
Excellent. So let's talk about the Department of Defense grant. There's been talk about this, and it actually two things really affect Oshkosh. Can you kind of explain that a little bit for us?
Sure. The purpose of the grant that was awarded from the Department of Defense was to address cutbacks at Oshkosh Corporation and how that had a cumulative impact on the whole economy. So the idea is to support displaced workers and also to identify opportunities for businesses that have been doing business with Oshkosh Corporation that are being impacted by these cutbacks as well. So there's 2 sub-grants that are part of this. The East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission is actually the agency that's getting awarded the funds, but 2 sub-grants are going to entities within the city of Oshkosh. One is to the university for what's called a Business Accelerator Project. The idea behind that is to support somebody who wants to get started in business but may not have all the skills or knowledge. They've got a great idea, but they don't know the business side of things. And this gives them an idea of how to get a jump start on that, accelerate them into getting their business started. And then the second one is an aerospace cluster study. This was something that we identified in our targeted industry study, that we worked together with a variety of partners in economic development and recognized that aerospace or aviation was an opportunity. And so we want to take a look at what opportunities are out there and how we can specifically target the aviation industry to perhaps come to and or grow right here in Oshkosh.
And so is this similar to having a little bit of an infrastructure to kind of keep some of these businesses afloat, like you were saying, giving businesses the chance to proceed and excel? Well,
there's so many businesses that were impacted by the cutbacks at Oshkosh Corporation, and I think the Department of Defense recognizes the impact that those cutbacks have on businesses that the Department of Defense doesn't have a contract with them, but they've been supporting the Department of Defense indirectly for years. The idea is to keep them in business, keep the jobs going. The Department of Defense recognizes the impact that cutbacks at the defense level can have on a community. So they want to work more directly with the impacted businesses and perhaps give them some opportunities and make them aware of opportunities that maybe they didn't think about because they were busy serving Oshkosh Corp. Now they're taking a look at other horizons that might be available to them.
Great, and that aviation subaward transitions nicely into our next topic that we have prepared here, having to do with the Aviation Industrial Park. Now, the planning and actual designing of this has actually begun, is that correct?
That's correct. The planning part of it, we had a lot of conceptual work done. But now we need to get to the nuts and bolts of the infrastructure. So we're going to seek proposals to get the design done. And as you can see, this is right off of Ripple Road. It dead ends right into the airport itself. And this land will hopefully by around August 1st, we're hoping to time this all so that come the EAA fly-in, we're going to be able to break ground on that. So our goal is to select an engineering firm, get them working on the design. This is only about an 80-acre parcel, so it's not huge. It can get designed relatively soon, but hopefully we'll start unearthing some of this ground and putting in some water and sewer and stormwater facilities, as well as a road, so that we can go right adjacent to the airport, and the county owns the property adjacent to the airport. They can provide access to a potential aviation-related business that needs access to the airport. So we're real excited about the potential that this provides, and the timing with the aerospace cluster study just works out great.
So is there any kind of timeline with that then, as far as when ground will be broken for this?
I think we're going to be able to break ground right around EAA fly-in time. I'm really hoping that that's the goal. And then if that does, I would think that we could probably get this done by about this time next year. Maybe the asphalt wouldn't be laid out exactly, the final layer of asphalt. That might not happen until maybe spring. But I would say that by this time next year, the road and the infrastructure is going to be there, just not the last layer of asphalt.
Great, and that'll be perfect timing with EAA having all the fly-in come in and promote that a little bit.
We want to be able to show that by breaking ground that look what we have. Here's the access you'll have. Wouldn't it be great to be right here year-round and have access to all that our aviation economy offers here in Oshkosh that's really underutilized right now.
Mm-hmm. And we have a couple minutes left here in our first half of the show, and I know that you wanted to, devote a little portion to thank some city staff. I mean, with this crazy weather, they've really been kind of braving it out there, especially with the water main breaks and different water issues.
I'm going to not do it justice to answering your question because I'm going to miss somebody in the process. You've mentioned the water distribution crews, and we don't have file footage of those folks because they're usually doing it in the middle of the night when our OCMS folks are fast asleep at night. Our snowplow trucks, they're out there all the time. They're literally out there 24 hours a day at some point. But it's just not them. It's folks keeping the parks clear, keeping walkways clear. It's our water distribution crews, and that's probably the biggest one right now because we're getting so many water main breaks and service malfunctions. And so we want people to know that, if you do experience something, let us know by calling 236-5330. That's generally during regular hours. You can always call the police dispatch center after hours. But if you think you have a problem, call us. We'll be happy to come out and check you out. And our folks will take care of these little leaky breaks. And the picture doesn't do justice because these things freeze up really, really fast. And it gets very miserable conditions for our workers. But they're out there.
Essentially, they're on call 24/7.
Yeah, absolutely. And anytime they're out there taking care of this, and also you can't forget about police and fire who are out there 24 hours a day. And if there's a fire, they're out there in the cold, squirting water and freezing themselves on contact. I mean, and the police officers being out there for the accidents that happen in this inclement weather, and they're out there directing traffic for an accident or filing a report or consoling somebody who's been hurt. And again, I know I've missed somebody in the process, but so many of our employees do such an outstanding job and really appreciate everything they do during this time.
Yes, and credit is definitely deserved. Like you said, they don't always get that pat on the shoulder like they do deserve.
Yeah, so. But thank them for everything they do.
Yes, and now it's getting to be that time of the show where viewers have the chance to ask their city manager anything they want about what's going on here in Oshkosh. So let's take a look and see what the question is this week. All right, Mark, so this one is from someone who's actually pretty close to us. Andy from Oshkosh wants to know, is WOCT 101.9 FM available online?
Wait, I think Andy is the same name as the producer of our show, so I think that says we need some questions, everybody.
Yes.
This doesn't happen very often, but since you threw up a softball question there, Andy of Oshkosh, just coincidentally our producer's name, it's available online just within the past week or two?
This past week, yes. We are now online. You can listen to WOCT through our website on oshkoshcommunitymedia.org just by clicking Listen Live on our website. Listen right through your computer that way. Also, we are on the TuneIn Radio app. So if you have a mobile device, an iPhone, a Droid, even an iPad or a mobile device, you can search WOCT on TuneIn and you're able to listen from anywhere.
And I can tell you, I loaded the app. The TuneIn app was really easy, and all I did was hit search, and I did WOCT. Boom, it was there. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So now I've got WOCT on my phone, and I can listen to it anytime. Great programming. We have one of the best media services divisions in the state, if not the country, and now you can listen to it online and find out what's going on. We just, since the past couple weeks, you told me that somebody from England.
Yes, we got an email from someone from London who was listening online. So it's very exciting, and I think it's a lot of people don't realize that it's not just music. It's government meetings, it's nonprofit talk shows, it's a lot of other things that are available.
If you want to learn about something about Oshkosh, it's online, and so we encourage you to look up the app.
Yes, so that will conclude our question mark. If you'd like to send us a question, simply email it to questionmark@ci.oshkosh.wi.us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of City Manager's Report. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive right into the City Council meeting agenda for this Tuesday, February 11th. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mayor Bergtauer, and I'm asking for your help. The city has several boards and commissions that play important roles in just about every aspect of local government. Whether it's the Parks Board or the Landmarks Commission, these and other boards act as a forum for citizens to address their concerns and questions about Oshkosh city government. The boards also provide members the opportunity to make positive suggestions to the council or city staff to move the city forward. So here's where we need your help. For our city to work effectively, we need active citizen participation. Many of our boards and commissions currently need members. We're asking for just a few hours of your time each month to serve on one of our boards or commissions and help to ensure a strong democratic process. So please consider serving on a city board or commission. For an application, visit the city website, stop by the city manager's office in City Hall, or call 236-5000. Thank you for your interest, and we look forward to your possible involvement.
We're back on your City Manager's Report. Thanks for joining us. My name is Emily Mikowski, as always, joined by City Manager Mark Roloff. So now it's time to go over the Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, February 11th, 2014. So let's go right ahead and get right into it, Mark. Item number 1 and 2, both dealing with some new neighborhood design standards.
Right. There's the two items there have to do with the first one is actually dealing with what are called universal design standards. These are design standards for 1 and 2 family homes, and the idea behind it is that we want to have some basic standards to maintain property values within the city. And the way to do that is to create some minimum standards so that you know that if you invest in your home, that your neighbors are going to have similar expectations about how they build and how they redo their property so they don't bring down your property values by chance. The whole idea behind this is preserve property values, and that's really what we're trying to do here.
And so one of these is citywide and one is neighborhood solely. And what you just described was the neighborhood one?
No, that was
the city,
that was
citywide.
citywide. Yeah. Now, what that it doesn't mean that these standards are going to apply to you immediately. If you make a change to your house, want to make any type of change, then the design standards will kick in. So everybody is grandfathered in immediately on these standards, and this has to do with things about removing windows and blocking windows that are already there. We don't want to do that. There's a reason that the windows were there in the first place. We don't want to create this blank facade. And the Plan Commission's talked through a few things, and the council will have to wrestle with a few more things. But that's the citywide standards. The neighborhood design standards are specific to neighborhoods, and they're designed for neighborhoods of a unique nature that are, I think they're called traditional neighborhoods, and that's how the wording in the ordinance is. Mm-hmm. Traditional are older neighborhoods to try to preserve some of the design features that have existed there for over a century, and we want to maintain those standards throughout the life of it.
So how do these standards become adopted? Like, for example, for the neighborhood ones, how do these happen?
Those, one of 3 ways. One would be initiated by the neighbors themselves. 2 would be city staff recognizing a need, or 3, a council member could say, I think we need to take a look at this. So any of those 3 options are available to initiate these standards.
Is there any certain one that you have a preference toward out of those 3?
Preference, I would say, in terms of a preference, I would say the residents, because the residents are the ones who have the most to gain and to lose from this. And we do need to engage the neighbors in getting this done. So the idea would be, yeah, we would want them to do it, but there are some neighborhoods that have a very low percentage of owner occupants, and we want to respect that as well, because the whole idea is preserving your property values. So we want to make sure that even if you have a small number of people in a neighborhood, they still have the capability of bringing that up. Sometimes they don't realize that they're empowered to do that, so staff or council could actually help initiate the process and take it from there.
And this is not something that the city will be enforcing immediately. Like you said, it's once someone goes to make a change, correct?
Right. The neighborhood-specific ones aren't going to happen until somebody initiates something. And the universal ones are pretty general. I think most people are already maintaining them to those standards anyway, so you're not going to see any immediate impact unless you're making some change to your home. And even then, you're probably already in compliance with what you're proposing.
Item number 9 here, having to do with recycling some material, some stone. I know we've talked about this briefly in a few episodes back of CMR. What can you tell us about the project?
Well, the real issue here is that we're trying to recycle stone and concrete and grind it up, but it's what we're using it for. We're saving all this extra concrete and stone and whatnot that we've had from other previous street projects. We've been stockpiling it, and now it'll be ground up, and it's actually going to be used for the Public Works Field Operations Facility. So we're going to use it and right back on the site and save us money on the project itself. So we got a live shot of what's going on over at the Public Works Garage, and it's a pretty chilly day here, but you can see that a lot of progress is being made, and we're going to be moving on to the next phase of it fairly soon, so around April 1st. And so as we start putting new base into the ground, we're going to be using this ground up material to get that done.
And so we can expect movement into phase 1 this spring.
We believe that we'll be starting to move in around April 1, and then sort of the excitement that you're going to see is that the old building will finally begin to come down, because we're using that right now. Come April 1, we're going to move as much of our operations as we can into the facility, and then start tearing down the old one. So there'll be a little bit of a tear shed, but
all very exciting.
Yeah, a lot of excitement.
It's amazing how fast the project has come already. So
exactly.
Up next, item number 10, we're going to be creating a pump station on Snell west of 41. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What's the point of it?
Well, we already have a sewer lift station. Anytime you don't have gravity feed, you need a lift station. And the area west of 41 on Snell Road is undersized right now. We want to upsize it. And we also need to accommodate some areas east of Highway 41, specifically the prison, to get some capacity over in that area moved over to the west side, so that area around Jackson and 41 can more gravity feed down into the main area. And right now the prison's putting too much of an emphasis on, too much of a demand on that area west of Jackson Street. So we're going to move things around, and the lift station will be upsized to accommodate the prison and all the other areas west of 41 for future growth.
Excellent. And the next item on there, very quickly, is to support a new bill, AB 680, phosphorus reform legislation.
This is something that the council has been keeping an eye on, because phosphorus regulations are very severe, and we could be facing a $30 million impact. What the legislation asks us to do is relax it a little bit and give us time to get it done. Maybe look for some more cost-effective alternatives to get that done.
And then last item on the agenda is we're going to be talking a little bit about your goals, so we can look forward to that as well.
Yeah, the council will be, the three are managing debt, dealing with health insurance issues. Our health insurance went up 20% in the last year. And then economic development. We need to be accountable for our economic development activities. We want to make sure that we have some measures by which we can gauge how well we're performing in economic development.
Wonderful. And that will wrap up our brief little council agenda there. We are out of time for today. Again, the City Council meeting is this Tuesday, February 11th at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on City Cable 10 or listen to it on 101.9 FM WOCT. Thanks again for joining us on your City Manager's Report, and we'll see you next time.